Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you saw my video for my main two characters, the Mai and Clint Streiser, the characters I make in every single wrestling game since you could make wrestlers. They'll be available tomorrow. Make sure you check out the video, give it some love. I do ask if you use them in your videos or on your channels. Just give my channel, this channel right here, a little bit of love. Just plug the channel. I really appreciate it. It goes a long way. Anyway, with that out of the way, we have some very interesting Ultra Pro Wrestling news, and this comes from Ultra Pro Wrestling's X account via Sam, the man himself, the lead developer, designer, the mastermind behind Ultra Pro Wrestling. And let's just go look at this, because this kind of blew my mind this morning, because this tells me a lot about where the game is at and how soon we could potentially be seeing this game. All right, let's go over to X. All right, so here we are over on X, and Ultra Pro Wrestling, Sam posted, the lead developer. He says, "Hi everyone, Sam here, visiting with some potential publishers this week at Gamescom 2025. If you see me walking the floor, stop and say hello." That's huge. That is huge for this game. If they can get a publisher deal with this game, that would help with marketing, funding of the game, quality assurance, help probably pay for the online infrastructure. I was wondering how they were going to do that, because they're not making a lot of money off of the Patreon. They need help. And I said this early on, is they need a publisher to help them get the game to the finish line. It looks like they're at that crossroad where, yeah, we need a publisher to help get this game done out to the fans in a timely manner. I mean, a publisher would help with, like I said, marketing. Marketing is expensive, especially now with the rise of the cost of everything going up. So the marketing deal, they probably help pay with the online infrastructure, because let's face it, the stuff they want to do with this game, the weekly show and everything, you're going to need help with funding with that, because that's going to be, they might be going with like a one of those companies that just handles that. Like, I remember back in the old PS3 days, was it GameSpy? I'm trying to remember the company that handled a lot of the online gameplay and stuff like that, and it was terrible. Like, there was lag, there was disconnects, it was easily hacked. Hopefully they'll go and find a really, really good company. I don't even know who takes care of that stuff anymore, because I don't play online very much, but very interesting. So after hearing this news, I immediately went and looked at all the publishers that will be at Gamescom, because I'm like, who could possibly be the publisher of Ultra Pro Wrestling? So let's look at the list of publishers here. We got Astragon. They make Firefighting Simulator, the Seafarer Ship Sim. We got Bandai Namco. That would be huge, but they're more of like the anime style games, and they do a lot of, well, let's say Japanese games, stuff like that. So I don't think Bandai would publish it. Capcom would be huge for them, but I don't think Capcom would publish the game. They're more of like Resident Evil now, and Monster Hunter and stuff like that, and Street Fighter. I don't think they'd publish a wrestling game. I don't know. Graphiline, never heard of them. Arknights and Defiled. Hoda Studio, probably not. Hoyoverse, they're more of the gacha games. If they want to turn Ultra Pro Wrestling into a gacha game and have big, huge knockers in every game, then maybe, but no. That probably not Hoyoverse. Crafton, doubtful. Inzoi, PUBG Battlegrounds, PUBG Blind Spot. I don't know about that one. That's a maybe. Microsoft makes a lot of sense, and their marketing budget, their unlimited funding would severely help Ultra Pro Wrestling. And now that they're not making games exclusive anymore, I feel like it'd be a good team up, because then it could be on PlayStation, Nintendo. I mean, it's already coming to everything via the Kickstarter campaign, but I feel like Microsoft would be a good partner for them, depending on how Microsoft does stuff, because they've published indie games before. They could do a Game Pass deal right at the beginning, give them a bunch of money up front, which would really help with development. And Game Pass also has a system in place for early access games. So you could see Ultra Pro Wrestling going to early access on both the Xbox and Steam, of course. And on the Xbox, you could either, they have a thing, what is it called? It's called like Game Preview is what it's called on Xbox. I did that with Conan Exiles. I did it with Grounded. There's a bunch of other games they've done it with. I believe they even did it with Ark Survival Evolved, which is probably one of the biggest games ever in the last 10, 15 years, even though the remake is terrible. It's just buggy. It's just a buggy mess. It was fun to play. But I could see Microsoft publishing this game, because this could be like, we're talking about like Power World levels of craziness with this. Get it into hands of people for, with Game Pass deal. Get a ton of eyeballs on it. Get people talking about it, because a lot of people were burnt with AEW Fight Forever. I hope that doesn't like deter them from Ultra Pro Wrestling, because they have nothing to do with each other. They're totally different companies and development teams and like everything. But Microsoft makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, just think about it. Game Pass money on Game Pass. Get it in the hands. Everybody sees how awesome it is over on Game Pass. They buy it on PlayStation, whatever. Sam and company gets a bunch of money up front because of the Game Pass deal. It makes a lot of sense for them if they want to go that route. Plus, nobody buys games on Xbox anyway these days. It's always Game Pass. So it makes a lot of sense for them. I think I was going to say THQ, because it's down at the bottom. Spoiler for the end of the video, would make the most sense. But no. I want to say Microsoft makes the most sense out of all these publishers. So hopefully they can work a deal out with them. That would be super awesome. Nintendo, I'm just going to skip over Nintendo, because there's no way they're going to make the game exclusive. So nope. Pearl Abyss is more about MMOs and those super high fidelity graphics games. So that's a big no. Team 17 makes some sense. They publish a lot of indie games, and they don't really have a wrestling game in their works, or in their portfolio. In fact, I have their website here. And then Ubisoft is one. I doubt Ubisoft would do it. And then THQ Nordic, and we'll get to that one in a second, because that would be huge for them, I think, because of just this. The name THQ is kind of synonymous with old wrestling games, especially like the SmackDown series. So if you have THQ in front of Ultra Pro Wrestling and Aki all in that same bubble, like the Triforce of wrestling, that would help the game a lot, like just with marketing, I think, just because you have THQ and wrestling. Yeah, I remember THQ days, especially since they're going for the old school wrestling fan. I think that would be a huge like deal for them. Anyway, so Team 17 has published a bunch of games here. No real wrestling games. They're more of like party games or little like adventure games. They have the Worms license. I don't know what that has to do with wrestling, but if you're a fan of Worms, they have that. The only game that really comes close is Raging Justice. That's like a side-scrolling beat-em-up. Even though it's not a wrestling game, it's like the only thing that comes close to it. As far as like fighting and stuff like that. But it'd be cool to have a wrestling game in their repertoire, if that makes sense, or in their library, or whatever the heck you want to call it. And then we go on, finally, to THQ Nordic. And I'm going to move my head here so you can see all these. So THQ Nordic, at least the original THQ, they, how they had the license to WWE games. They made pretty much every wrestling game for WWE from, I want to say, the late N64 days all the way up until, was it 2K14? Yeah, all the way up till 2K14, so 2014. So holy crap, that was a long time ago. And then 2K took over the license, because WWE 2K14 was the last wrestling game to feel like it was a THQ wrestling game or a published wrestling game. Then when 2K got it, they kind of like changed everything with 2K15, and we have the product we have today, where they took it a kind of a different direction. They took out body morphing, they took out all this stuff. But it looks amazing. The wrestlers look amazing. It still has that skeleton of gameplay that the old games had back in the old SmackDown series. Anyway, so THQ, I mean, we're talking about the wrestling games on the GameCube, Xbox. They freaking published a gajillion wrestling games. So it makes a lot of sense if Ultra Pro Wrestling could get a deal with them, or a publishing deal with them. That would be huge. And then I'm over here on their website, and they have some pretty big games in their publishing portfolio. So imagine seeing Ultra Pro Wrestling next to SpongeBob. Imagine seeing Ultra Pro Wrestling next to South Park, next to Gothic, or Outcast. I'm just looking at the games here. It's like Star Wars. Imagine seeing Ultra Pro Wrestling next to a Star Wars game. That's huge. That marketing thing alone would like put Ultra Pro Wrestling on the map right away, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not saying Microsoft couldn't do that, because Microsoft's gajillionaires, right? But just for wrestling fans, and so like I said, since they're going for the old school wrestling fan, it makes the most sense to me is THQ. If they can get a deal with THQ, that would be huge. And after the disaster that was AEW Fight Forever, very fun game to play. However, it was missing a lot of stuff. It was unfinished. They tried to pull the game in too many different directions, so it feels like it dips its toe in every single thing it does, like Battle Royale, mini games. They nailed the gameplay. The Creation Suite is like, you dip your toe in the Creation Suite. It's just, I wish they could have finished it. I wish they could have finished it, because AEW Fight Forever would be one of the greatest wrestling games of all time if they actually had time to finish it, and it's such a kick in the nuts. So maybe THQ Nordic wants to have like a redemption thing, and they're like, yeah, we want another wrestling game in our thing. They're not like new to wrestling games. They know what they are. They know what fans like. It'd be awesome. And who's to say that, let's say Ultra Pro Wrestling does really, really well for THQ Nordic, and THQ Nordic kind of bridges that gap between AEW and Ultra Pro Wrestling, and let's say they let Ultra Pro Wrestling devs, Hyper Focus Games, make AEW Fight Forever 2. That would be huge. Or at the very least, what if they have some sort of marketing deal where they get to use AEW wrestlers in Ultra Pro Wrestling? Imagine having all the AEW arenas and championships and everything in Ultra Pro Wrestling. That is a possibility with THQ Nordic. That would be huge. So anyway, I really hope that they get a deal with THQ Nordic. That's the one I'm hoping for. But financially, for them, the best thing I think that could happen for Ultra Pro Wrestling would be a deal, a Game Pass deal with Microsoft, and have Microsoft pay for all the marketing. Obviously, it wouldn't be exclusive to Game Pass, but if it's going into early access, it's only going to be on Steam at the beginning anyway. So imagine it going to Steam and Game Preview right at the beginning. That'd be huge. It'd make me hook up my Xbox again. Although I have a PC, I'll probably just play it on PC. Man, I'm excited. Like, I was kind of down on the game for a while now, because they told us like 2-3 months ago that we were going to get a gameplay trailer soon, air quotes, soon, and that he was working with Lemon Bread to get like the thing built. Maybe they have it all made and they're showing publishers first, because then they can get a publisher out there rather than to just post a random YouTube video showing, hey, here's our gameplay trailer. Maybe they're trying to get a publisher to do it for them, to really, really give it that marketing push that the game, I'm not going to say it needs, but would be very beneficial for the game. Maybe that's what he's doing. Anyway, I'm excited. I can't wait for Ultra Pro Wrestling. It is literally my most anticipated game for the last like 4 years, because I love wrestling games, and I love the creation like tools that he's made for this game for Ultra Pro Wrestling. I'm going to be spending hundreds and hundreds of hours just making wrestlers. I might barely play the game because I'll be too busy making wrestlers. Anyway, sound off the comments below. Which publisher do you think makes the most sense for Ultra Pro Wrestling? And as always, stay frosty.